Oh boy, alright, so they tried something, I guess. Welcome to the Con and Bob podcast, but I mean, that's what that was. Sure, let's talk about this. Welcome to the Con and Bob podcast. Like I said, I'm Con, that's Bob, and we're going to talk about Monday Night Raw, Tuesday Night Smackdown in this wacky world of the WWE. Dude, what'd you think on the shows? Your first thoughts right away.
It was better than last week. I definitely thought that it was better than last week. I enjoyed moments. It got me behind certain superstars, but not others. It made me pull away from some others for certain reasons. But it was better than last week's. There was just some stupid confusion and things that I'm like, why are you doing this or that? And really, I'm just kind of like, I kudos them on trying to make good on certain things that they missed, but at the same time, like to go back to it is stupid, right?
Yeah,
For
because
instance, the Ricochet versus Robert Roode thing, and I like how they said that it happened. That like Robert Roode went to executives and everything, how they made it happen. That they were like, "Well, I beat him the week earlier. Why is he in it?" So that made sense, but you shouldn't have to backpedal like that.
You shouldn't. No,
it
that's
should have
exactly
just already been a match.
Exactly. And I mean, honestly, this week, I know that you're saying it was better than last week, which it really is not comparing much because, honestly, last week was so atrocious that this week, of course, anything that is tried with any remotely slight bit of creativity is going to seem good. I thought Raw was not really all that good. I thought that it was a rough show. Not quite start to finish. There was moments that I liked from Raw for sure. There was things that I am willing to give a chance from it. But there was a lot of things that rubbed me the wrong way from Monday Night Raw. SmackDown, for sure, I enjoyed the show nearly start to finish. I thought that there was only one misstep in booking with having Ember Moon take the pinfall over Carmella. I think that was literally the only misstep on SmackDown Live. But Monday Night Raw, I've got a lot to talk about, mainly with the tag team division, the wild card rule, and Vince McMahon losing his absolutely friggin' mind. So let's start things off, man. I want to talk about this wild card rule. It's going to be the most talked about thing across the internet regarding wrestling. Do you like it or do you not?
I understand, and I like the aspect that they can then have their top talent on both rosters, but at the same time it just feels like they're again just another thing going toward no longer having the brand split, and it does provide certain things, but it's weird in the aspect that like if you're going to have this wild card thing where like, hey, SmackDown can come over to Raw can go over to SmackDown, why are you having two SmackDown guys go fight each other on Raw?
Yeah.
Right? Utilize it that you're getting a Raw versus SmackDown matchup.
Exactly.
Right? They did that on SmackDown, and they did it on Raw with Roman and Drew, but I don't know.
See,
and then it's weird, just the way that they announced it and the way it seemed like they weren't 100% sure. Then they added stuff, and then they were like not fully behind it, and Vince even it seemed rushed. It seemed like it had to happen.
Yeah.
And then also even they just don't touch on things, right? Like the fact that he's like three superstars can come over, and then there was 5, technically 6, technically if you include Shane and Elias.
Oh, right. Like there was just so many superstars jumping brand.
And then on SmackDown, AJ came out and said one of the 4 superstars, and he just said it in passing.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's just a very weird thing that happened because you're absolutely right. It felt like a rushed decision. It also is very weird timing that this takes place immediately after the superstar shakeup. Like I know ratings are down and I know there's going to be moves that are made. But the thing is that WWE doesn't seem to realize is that doing this idea of a wild card rule, or at any given moment some guys from SmackDown can come over to Raw and some guys from Raw can go over to SmackDown, that doesn't increase ratings. That storylines increase ratings. Yeah. Having just people switch brands does nothing, You don't have people like Undertaker showing up, Goldberg showing up, who are going to draw in millions of fans. You have week-to-week superstars who we see every single week. It is not special to see the guy on Raw or on SmackDown. Giving them a storyline that makes people be invested in them That is how
Now,
you get the ratings up.
They can use it that way, right? They can use it like Roman Reigns getting beat down on SmackDown by 2 people, 3 people, and then all of a sudden Usos come out to help him out, and it's like, oh shit, like they're on different brands, but that's awesome because we know the connection that they have, right? Or Seth Rollins coming out, or vice versa, him going out to help Seth, or you have like the Good Brothers come out to help Finn, right? Like something along those lines where it's like, oh, that's a really cool little thing, but they can use it that way at 100%.
Oh, it opens up a lot of creative storylines, like no doubt about that. Like I think just the confusion around how it was implemented is the part that fans are going to have the hardest part understanding, right? We don't know the rules. They aren't really clear. And it is very obvious, you know, that wrestling fans are generally fans of other sports as well. And it's logic that we like the other sports from, right? You know, when there are these rules that are added in, we want to know the rule book. We want to know what are the rules that people can get away with and people can't. And basically saying that it's going to be 3 superstars, no wait now 4, no wait now there's 5, no wait now there's 6. We don't have a clue what the rules are. So we need a more defined set of rules of what is allowed to happen, what is not allowed to happen with this wild card rule, and what are the actual consequences if somebody from SmackDown Live shows up on Raw and somebody on Raw shows up on SmackDown Live, but they're not supposed to. You know what I mean? Like, we got to know what those consequences are. And I mean, I'm actually intrigued to find out if those consequences are going to be enforced. You know, we can't have Vince McMahon saying out there he's going to only allow 3 superstars, and then, you know, there'd be 5, but no repercussions from that. Yeah. You got to give us some sort of explanation, right? Like Miz showing up and attacking Shane McMahon, I believe that made him the 5th superstar from SmackDown Live to jump brands.
Yeah.
Right? So there should be a fine there. That should have been addressed right away on SmackDown Live, but it wasn't.
Technically, too, the same thing with Elias going to Raw. Right? Yep. And even technically Shane, I mean, I guess I get Shane being Shane, but also the fact that they said 3 and then Lars came out, so that makes it 4. And then the next night, AJ says one of the 4 superstars. So now it's like, okay, so now we're at 4. It's been said, we know we're at 4, but then still there's a 5th. So who's the 5th? And also what they should do is announce who, and I get they want the surprise, whatever, but this could even help ratings if they announce who the 4 wild cards are each week prior to or right at the top of the show, so that then we as fans know, okay, it's going to be Roman Reigns, it's going to be Daniel Bryan, it's going to be Kofi Kingston, and it's going to be Lars Sullivan. That's 4. Those are the 4. Anyone that isn't one of those 4 is going to be fined and like punished, right?
Yeah. What I'm also kind of curious is it a first come first serve basis? You know, like, is it the first person to come out from SmackDown on Raw? Does that count as one of the wild? Like, we don't know these rules, right?
That's what they made it kind of sound like at one point. I think it was AJ said something.
But then they
about
also
that.
said what they also said though at the start of Monday Night Raw was that Vince was saying that only Kofi Kingston, only AJ Styles, and only Roman Reigns, like only a certain amount of superstars are going to be able to change hands. It made it seem like, you know, these guys are just constantly wild card superstars. Like free agents sort of thing. Like, you know how they were playing off that free agent thing with John Cena, where he could show up on either Raw or SmackDown. But also speaking quickly about that, what do you think about the idea of trying to treat Raw and SmackDown more like their individual brands and individual sports organizations, where you have trades going between them, where you're constantly testing out, like, okay, I'll give you Finn Balor and this guy for this tag team or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Why is that not a thing that we're testing out? Because that would draw up ratings. Right?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. It's essentially having the superstar shakeup,
but all the
whole
time,
year, right?
Yeah. Like the idea behind the superstar shakeup is not bad. The idea behind the wild card, in theory, is not bad. They're poorly executed, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But in theory, they're not bad ideas. The idea that you can have one guy from SmackDown show up on Raw at any given moment to freshen up the product, that's fun. That is fun.
If they want to have like a trade deadline, like in every other sport, where it's like, okay, after Survivor Series, up until WrestleMania. There's no trades.
Exactly, because that's
like
WrestleMania
something like
season.
that. Like, listen, that's WrestleMania season. There's no trades, right? Or like Royal Rumble to WrestleMania, whatever it is, right?
Yep.
No trades, because we need a period where we can build our WrestleMania storylines and not have to worry about this.
Exactly.
So that can make sense, but yeah, like it can do some things, right? Like, I don't know. And also, I really do think that they should treat it as a professional sport, like any right, where they can do those trades.
Why isn't NXT kind of like your farm system? You know, you've got when you picture if you treat WWE like MMA, if you picture MMA, they've got the top 10 rankings, right, for each division, where people are ranked on the card. When they win, they move up. When they lose, they move down. If you treated it like that, well, then the people at the bottom of the rankings, you could look and say, like, you have to crack a certain rating or you're going to be sent down to NXT. We only have a certain roster size here, like the NHL, like the MLB, whatever, and we can only carry so many people on a roster, and the rest have to go down to the minors, NXT UK, 205 Live, NXT. There you go. That is how we can make this whole thing work together.
And we shouldn't look at it as like a threat. We shouldn't look at it as like, listen, you're not getting this, you're getting sent down.
Exactly.
It's, listen, we don't really have much for you. Tyler Breeze wrestle on NXT.
Exactly.
Go down and do, like, you know, and it's just kind of fresh, and it keeps them fresh, it keeps them going, and gives them something to do, right? And it also helps out the younger brands because a veteran guy is coming down, and you get a fun storyline out of it, right?
Yeah, well, we're starting to see like an issue with the NXT way, because NXT has become a larger-than-life brand. It has become the third brand of WWE. And NXT UK was more so implemented to kind of get the people over in the UK. And then the NXT touring brand is like for all the actual rookies, right? To get lots of ring time. But if we started treating NXT like it was its third brand and no longer a developmental, and then you had the house shows of NXT be like the new and up-and-coming superstars, you could open up doors, like you said, for the veterans to go down to work with the younger superstars. You open up doors for the younger superstars to appear on Monday Night Raw. It'd just be really, really healthy, I believe, for the whole WWE like experience.
Yeah, and the thing with the wild card, like, I don't hate the wild card rule, but here's my question: is like, can it be used with NXT superstars?
That would be a good question. I think
can
it
we
should
see,
be expanded
can we
to
see
it.
an Undisputed Era come up for a Tuesday Night SmackDown randomly? Right?
That would create ratings.
Can we see a Pete Dunne come up? Can we see a Walter come over? Like anyone random, right? Where it's just like, oh shit, like that's awesome. Something along those lines where it's like Velveteen Dream, like all these different guys.
Why wouldn't?
Like, okay, cool.
Like, why wouldn't you either, right? When you think about that, the ability to introduce a character earlier to a mass audience, like they did with Charlotte against Natalya one time way back in the day, it opens their eyes to not only NXT, but it opens their eyes to the future of the business. These younger superstars who show up occasionally on Raw, occasionally on SmackDown, and you slowly introduce them, but you put them over in like mid-card matches. You know, you have them beat the people. Like, if you're not going to use Tyler Breeze down in NXT, well, then put Tyler Breeze versus Velveteen Dream out there. And the fans are going to buy into it.
And that match would be amazing. That's
exactly.
the thing. It won't just it won't just introduce the fans of the main roster to Velveteen Dream. It will also remind us, like, hey, Tyler Breeze can go, because even though he loses likely, he puts on a hell of a show with Velveteen, and then the next week, now you've almost reintroduced to Tyler Breeze. So now the next week or 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, whatever, have him go again in a good match. This time he wins against someone else. Then he wins against a Robert Roode in 2 weeks. Then he picks up a random win against a Ricochet or whatever. And then now you have a justifiable mid-carder where you're like, oh, okay, no, this guy could go like beat Rey Mysterio potentially for a U.S. title picture opportunity, something like that, right? I feel like they just don't fully know where they're headed, and they just rush it.
What it is, man,
think it through.
What it absolutely is I'm gonna guess how they book backstage. They probably write on a piece of paper the top names that they want to focus on, and then say, all right, now let's just take from our bag of hats who's going to have a match this week. This guy with this guy, and this is going to be this triple threat match, or this going to be the jobbers. They're going to job out to them. And they just don't advance anywhere from week to week. You know, they don't have any long-term stories planned. They don't have any goals for SummerSlam. They might, but they change so often, right? They don't write on a piece of paper and say, this is the match that we are going for. This is the match we are building to. Let's work from 6 months out and figure out how to make this match the biggest thing. If you are ready for Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam for the Universal title, book that. If they've been booking that thing for months out, they've been doing a good job with it, because there has been a rivalry between Seth Rollins and Drew. And it has grown into the point where they have had matches with each other, but no like top tier titles or anything on the line. When you get to that moment at SummerSlam, that is long-term booking. That makes the match better. And we don't have enough long-term booking really going on in the WWE right now.
No. You know what else is something interesting that I wouldn't mind to see WWE implementing? A little bit, not over the top, but a little bit. AEW has already started announcing matches that are happening on pay-per-views in 3 months, their next couple pay-per-views, right? So the interesting thing there is, though we have had no real reason why that match is happening, the match being announced allows the rivalry to build itself almost. It's the fact that they're fighting each other, right? It's the same thing that we see in UFC, MMA, whatever it is, where, okay, we're just going to announce this match, and then the rivalry builds itself, because
hype is an amazing thing, isn't it?
Yeah, through the press conferences, and then it allows it to come out and be like, listen, I'm fighting whoever next, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And say Henry Cejudo versus TJ Dillashaw, right? Where it's like, okay, yeah, I'm fighting TJ Dillashaw next, this in 4 months or 2 months, whatever. And then it's like, okay, well, this is what I think of it. I think I'm going to, and then they get to say back. And it's like, that just builds itself just based off of, listen, I know that I'm better than you. Every rivalry doesn't have to be super personal in wrestling. It could just be like, I'm better than you. No, you aren't. That fine.
100%.
Some of them can be super personal, which is great. And that's where you really get the soap opera-y feel. But I think that's an interesting concept that AEW is doing right now that I don't mind having matches introduced in advance and be like, okay.
It just makes total sense, man. Honestly, like we said, there is so many sports fans who watch wrestling trying to position it like a real sport. There's not always rivalries when you have two hockey teams face head to head, right? Sometimes it's just a battle of who's the best. And that is a very simple story to get across in WWE. Two guys who are wrestling saying, I'm better than you. I don't have any hatred for you. Just a casual match on Raw. That's an easy way to book if you announce ahead of time. Like the thing that they did on SmackDown Live with Asuka and Kairi Sane facing off against Fire and Desire next week. Right? Yeah. That's a great thing. I love that. That is a minor match, right? No titles on the line, no stipulations, no number one contenderships, just momentum. But they built it up a week out, and I'm excited to see the match. That's going to make me tune into next week on SmackDown.
I really hope that they follow through and have that match.
I do too.
Because there's been issues with WWE in the past where they announce a match the week earlier and then it just doesn't happen.
Exactly. Well, that goes to their ratings falling because they don't follow through on what they say they're going to deliver. And as a result, the fans feel that it's not must-watch television live, right? I mean, you and me, we've talked about this. You're obviously a busy man. If it wasn't my job, I would be kind of in the same situation where Raw doesn't feel like you have to watch it live. You can watch highlights. You can read the reviews. You can read the results online, and you can still feel like you got the full show, but it wasn't must-watch. There are very few times where you're like, oh my God, I wish I was watching Raw to see that live. Why didn't I get to be there live for that? Game of Thrones, we're literally I'm kicking myself that I'm not going to be able to watch it live for the finale. When is the last time we did that with wrestling? WrestleMania, right?
Yeah, it's you get it every once in a while. No, I need to see it live, but it is a weird thing because with other sports, I'm not one to like record a sports, like a hockey game or football game or whatever, and rewatch it after.
Mm-hmm.
Because I already at that point know. So wrestling is kind of similar in that way, but at the same time, it's a story.
Yes.
So at the same time, I'm like, well, I want to see it live because there is that different feeling. And I will watch it back sometimes where it's like, oh, I heard this was a really good match.
Yep.
Because it's storytelling. Again, the storytelling is what I'm watching it for, and the athleticism in that aspect, but through storytelling. It's not a hockey game where I'm like, oh, that was a really good game. Yeah, I'm going to sit down and spend 3 hours to watch that hockey game.
Mm-hmm.
Because I already know the result. It's not going to change. It doesn't really. I'll watch the highlights of like, oh, there was this sick goal.
Yeah.
Or there's a huge hit.
Like,
right?
yeah, that is where the difference is, where WWE is becoming sports, where it is sports entertainment, because that entertainment factor makes you feel like you can't just catch up on the results. You kind of do have to watch to understand the story, right? And if you miss a couple of weeks of wrestling, everybody knows this. You feel behind. You legit feel behind if you miss a couple weeks of wrestling.
Yeah,
so
you get lost a little bit.
It's just so every wrestling fan finds a way to catch up with the programming. It's just trying to find the way to make them want to watch live again. You know, when they're talking that Fox wants WWE to get the ratings above 3 million before the move in October, and they're barely pulling 2, there's an issue there. There is a massive issue, and we got to figure out a way to fix it. And I don't know if that's just through storylines. I don't know if we need to do something out of the box, like an NXT invasion angle. Like, I don't know what it is to fix this product to literally get the ratings back to where they need to be. But starting with basic storylines, it's an easy way to build up the product.
It's starting with utilizing guys properly too, right? Like this stupid revival.
Oh, yes. Let's get into tag team wrestling. Yeah.
The stupid revival storyline of the Usos. It's like, it's making me just like the Usos too.
Yeah.
Not because like I literally dislike them. They're so amazing and still one of the best tag teams alive, right? Like in my mind, one of the greatest of all time.
They might be the best in the world.
Yeah. So my issue with it though is like, they're better than this. They're better than I'm going to make fun of you and do this little jokey thing, right?
Usi-hot.
Yeah. And the revival is better than receiving that. Mm-hmm. This storyline was so easy to do from a wrestling fan standpoint. Let's just listen. We are the greatest tag team in the world. No. We say that we're the greatest tag team in the world. Like, okay, then we're going to throw down and make it as physical as you can because you know that these two will put on a great match. This is the whole what's the AOP thing again? Mm-hmm. With the Drake Maverick and the peeing and stupid that, right?
Yeah, it's just stupid. Tag team wrestling, it is such an easy thing to book. It really is. It doesn't have to be complicated. It's in the middle of the card. It's not main event. It's not there to draw, like, you know, all the seats in the house. It's there to be a fun 15, 20 minutes for a match where you take the fans and you pop them. That is what tag team wrestling is, and it allows you to develop stars for the future of your business because you get 4 people in a ring at the same time. They get their reps in, they get their stories across, they make character developments, and if you do tag team wrestling right, it should launch these superstars into becoming solo stars. You know, we go back to like the Rockers. Shawn Michaels came from the Rockers. Where else? Edge and Christian. They were a part of Edge and Christian, obviously. Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy, both world champions from the Hardy Boys. Tag team wrestling is so essential. Bret Hart, yeah. Tag team wrestling is just
like all these different things. Batista in Evolution, Randy Orton in Evolution, right?
D-Generation X, if we want to go to WCW, the NWO, right?
Yeah, I mean, those guys were
already superstars, but you get what I'm saying. They were brought over as the outsiders, right? And yeah, it's just kind of it's crazy that they don't seem to understand what tag team wrestling really is all about, and that you can legitimately get people over by just letting them go out there, do their thing. All right, so we just had a little bit of technical difficulties. Not too sure exactly where we were with the conversation, talking about the revival and tag team wrestling. So, yes,
They're
basically
better than what you're doing to them. That's basically
it. And this goes into my semi-rant of tag team wrestling because, like I said, it's just so easy to book. It's so easy to book potential superstars to come from them. And they just don't seem to understand that tag team wrestling is wanted by wrestling fans. It's so exciting to see the combination of moves, how they set up the ring and how they split the ring in half. And it just, the Revival deserves so much better than that. They are legitimately one of the best tag teams in the world, and they can put on great matches. And it pains me to believe that WWE is going to try to embarrass them as much as they can before their contracts expire and they head to AEW. That's what they're clearly trying to do. And that just shows how petty of a company WWE really is. How petty can you get? Your ratings are declining. Fans are not liking your product. And you are going out there and you are embarrassing a duo, a tag team that the fans legitimately love, have seen come through NXT. And you are embarrassing them to destroy their name value. Revival are never going to be back in the WWE after what they did to them. Never. No. Not if there's other companies that succeed out there. Not a chance.
Yeah. It's tough too because they could literally just keep them off air. They don't need to use them if that's what they want. And I get it, but it's literally, like you said, it's bringing down their product, right? And it's tough if they end up keeping them in some capacity somehow. They likely not, but say they do. The only thing that fixes things like this, unfortunately, are long periods away from the ring. So usually due to an injury. I think an example, AOP, who was it? Razor got hurt?
Yeah, one of them. I can't remember. Yeah.
Or Akam.
Either Akam or Razor. One of the big boys got hurt.
One of the guys got hurt, and they've been off basically since, which is very good for that team. Because when they come back, though people like you or I will remember the Drake Maverick and the peeing and stupid, at the same time, we'll be very excited to have them back, and hopefully they come back without Drake Maverick. Even though I did love for a bit what they had with him.
They need to change something up, yep.
They need to not have him because they had that stupid peeing segment, right?
Exactly, yep.
So what they need to do when they come back is just bring them back as a Viking Raiders-esque team. Just a big, powerful, well-moving,
the way they should have been presented right at the start, to be honest.
Tag team. Yes.
Yeah.
And honestly, they'd be a great team to come back against the Viking Raiders.
Yeah, I agree.
Or Heavy Machinery. Like a big team like that. It's like, oh, these big teams are never going to get dethroned because they're big, powerful, whatever teams. And then all of a sudden, AOP comes back.
Yeah, and here's kind of like a nice little part of the wild card rule is they could end up coming back for SmackDown Live, and then all of a sudden you could have an AOP versus Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan match, and that intrigues the hell out of me. But continuing along the road of talking about tag team wrestling, and when you mention the Viking Raiders, they come to mind because they beat the Raw tag team champions in Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins.
Their winning streak is over.
Yeah. Now, we all know that these two guys, we talked about this, how they should not be booked as strong champions, right? Because they lost so much beforehand. It should be a nice WrestleMania moment, and then the titles change hands. It seems like that's the direction they're going with the Viking Raiders, and you know what? Rightfully so, the Viking Raiders have been very entertaining to watch. NXT Tag Team Champions put on amazing matches down in NXT. Now coming up to the main roster, they should be the next Tag Team Champions, honestly, and see what you've got with them. But you cannot constantly have your champions lose. It does not matter if it's the United States champion, does not matter if it's the IC champion, does not matter if it's the tag team champions on Raw or SmackDown. They cannot be losing, and they cannot be losing that easily, because you are telling every single viewer that this is the best your division has to offer. They are the best, and when a casual fan sees somebody like Kurt Hawkins, they've only known him to ever lose, all of a sudden hold on to a tag team belt and defend it and look terrible, they're not going to care about the tag team that beat them. the Viking Raiders
they're not going to care about the tag team division.
They're not going to compare it. Like, they're not going to do anything. Like, they're not going to care about any moment in the tag team division. You're absolutely right, because it is viewed as a joke. And that's another reason why I love what Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan are doing over there on SmackDown Live, pushing the idea of a tag team renaissance, that there is jokes. The New Day were a joke. Usos go to Raw. They're joking around. Heavy Machinery wants to joke. This is the promo, basically word for word from Daniel Bryan. And that's good, because we do need a tag team renaissance. We do need a revolution. We do need an evolution. We need something in the tag team division. And, I mean, if that's War Raiders becoming the next Raw Tag Champs and then going on a strong run, sure. But again, do not devalue your championships for any reason. Build it up. Build the prestige. Make it worth winning. That's all you got to do.
Well, this is a good transition into something that they did the opposite of, that really helped me. One of the bright spots for me this week that they had was Kofi Kingston defending his title on both Raw and SmackDown.
Yes.
Beating Daniel Bryan on Raw to retain his title, beating Sami Zayn and AJ Styles in a triple threat match on SmackDown to retain his title. And this is a situation where last week, you and I are talking about how Kofi Kingston's run has been very stale, and I haven't had the same hype behind it, and I haven't been as excited about it as what it was the build to it. And then I literally said at one point during last week's pod, I remember I said part of it might be that he just hasn't really defended it.
Yeah.
And I don't need him to defend it twice a week, but this is definitely hyping me up to be like, okay, yeah, this is why he's in the ring. He's defending his title. He's a fighting champion. This is why, right? He's willing to put it on the line against Sami Zayn and AJ Styles. He's willing to put it on the line against a Daniel Bryan who might get close to cheating to win, something like that, like someone like that.
Yeah.
It's like, just to prove, listen, I am better than you. And I loved his promo where he said, I beat Daniel Bryan to prove that wasn't a fluke. Yeah. And I'm like, that's what was missing.
Exactly.
With him right now as a character, it makes me think, okay, they weren't doing anything with you really. They had you like working with KO to build that rivalry. Great. That's going to be your big first. Is that his second title defense? First or second?
What, Kevin Owens?
Technically, yeah, before Daniel Bryan and before.
It'll be that will be his third title defense if he doesn't defend it.
So it was
then.
two this week, and then so it was going to be his first title defense, and it was a long time. And I'm like, listen, other than I guess technically the one-on-one against Seth that never really ended up finishing, but yeah, I was like, man, that's a long time.
It is a long time
between you winning it and you defending it, and it's just weird because I'm like, I couldn't stay behind him. And then they did a great job this week because they had him defending it and they had him winning with it on the line, which is even better. Because if you really want to make your champion strong, having them win is one thing. Having them win with the title on the line is a whole nother.
That is so funny that you said that, man. I said almost word for word the exact same thing as that during the show yesterday. Having a champion go on the show and wrestle in a one-on-one match does not have the same feel to it as a champion going in a one-on-one match for his championship. You can have the same result, you know? You don't have to take the title off them. That's one of the magical things about WWE is you can make matches feel bigger without them actually having anything really going to change. You know, just by putting a title on the line. It's what they do on house shows. It's the classic house show circuit. Make every match feel like it's a big deal without anything actually changing. Take a little bit of that formula, put it into Monday Night Raw, and people are going to feel like they need to be there for it.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Sami Zayn, man, because this was interesting. We addressed last week finding some way to get Sami Zayn in towards the casual audience. Right, we talked about his shtick being towards the hardcore fan base, the people who go and complain online, and anybody who is a casual audience member just tuning into that show will feel personally attacked and maybe tune out of the show, you know, because they don't have any connection to Sami Zayn and just feel like he's just going out there and really being annoying. They found a way to bring him into the casual fans, and they found a way to make the casual fans dislike Sami Zayn as well through the inclusion of Braun Strowman. I think it's a perfect callback because haven't they already had some issues with each other in the past?
I think so.
Yeah, perfect callback for Braun Strowman and Sami Zayn. They're both at a different place in their career now. Now, this is the part where I thought was a misstep, because as much fun as it was to see Braun Strowman throw Sami Zayn into a dumpster, and as much fun as it was to see Sami Zayn get thrown into the back of a dump truck, and for as much fun as it was to think for like 24 hours, oh my god, Sami Zayn's dead because there's no way he survives a trash compactor.
Another classic, somebody tried to murder someone in wrestling.
Exactly. But
classic WWE.
And as much as I loved seeing Sami Zayn on SmackDown, they should have sold that attack a little bit better, shouldn't they?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of...
Braun Strowman just basically killed the guy.
Yeah.
He's on SmackDown.
I'm not a big fan of those stupid, like, I'm going to throw you in this trash bin, and then the trash, like, the garbage truck comes and picks you up. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of that type of stupid thing. I get it, but also at the same time, to me, it somewhat devalues the person being thrown into it. But
what I will say, before you continue on with that, though, Sami Zayn's going to be able to pull off the fact that he was thrown in a dumpster because his character is perfect for it. Like, honestly,
he's someone who will carry it through fine.
Yeah.
I'm not huge on that. I think, like, by SmackDown, I was kind of, for me, I'm one to just be like, whatever. But I had no interest in that segment. But I didn't mind the inclusion of Braun Strowman. Mm-hmm. Like, he could have just came out and been like, beat the shit out of him and been like, whatever.
Why not have that segment end with Braun Strowman and Sami Zayn actually still running? And I loved the segment up until the garbage truck. Sami Zayn trying to get out of the garage, trying to claw away from Braun, trying to run away. Like, I liked all that. I would have liked this week for Sami Zayn to get away from Braun.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe hightail over to SmackDown Live. And you could have included Braun Strowman on SmackDown to continue that feud if you want. We're talking about hindsight booking. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But
I also don't mind, because this is the situation of how does it get Sami back in the ring? Mm-hmm. Because we talked about that last week. And I think it's a great thing because I assume it will eventually lead to a Sami Zayn versus Braun Strowman.
It should, yes.
Which is fine. Because Sami is a heel. Mm-hmm. Heels losing doesn't really hurt them.
No, it doesn't.
Right? Especially his character losing. His character is not, I'm better than you. It's, I hate all of you. Mm-hmm. So, as the fans.
Go to hell.
It's not, it's not me saying I'm better than you as a wrestler. It's just me saying I don't like any of these people.
Exactly.
Which is fine. So he can lose, and it doesn't hurt him.
He's going
especially
to be...
against someone like Braun Strowman. But I think it also can help because I fully expect Sami Zayn to be a part of that Money in the Bank ladder match, in the aspect that he will interfere.
Spots left?
No, he won't be in it.
Oh, okay. All right. I was going through
he will be a part of it in some capacity by preventing Braun Strowman.
Oh, there you go. There's the connection. Yep, that works.
Which then it leads to Braun Strowman versus Sami Zayn at the following pay-per-view or whatever they do, right? Mm-hmm. Or for the following weeks after Money in the Bank, because it shows, this is how Braun Strowman can't win it. It keeps Braun tough and like, well, I could have been Monster in the Bank twice, but you got screwed.
Yeah.
Because Sami screwed you over because you came and beat the shit out of him or whatever it is. So I'm excited for the actual aspect of connection to getting him in the ring. And this is how they're doing it, and I'm good with that. Another brighter spot of the week. For me, it was just dampened by the or lessened by the garbage truck thing. Yeah. But Sami can pull it off. So
yeah, I absolutely agree. The garbage truck thing probably was not the needed part of the segment. I loved Sami and Braun running, though. I don't know what that was. I thought that was just great. It was a good introduction to the feud, I thought. If you remove that garbage truck, I think that is a perfect intro to that feud. So yeah, really no massive issues outside of that garbage truck. Let's talk about Lacey Evans, because I kind of liked the whole arc of the night with Lacey Evans, with her inviting Naomi, Dana Brooke, and Alexa Bliss and Natalya out to ringside to watch her match, and it was just a jobber, and I thought that was a great
Notice how quickly the word Alexa came out of my mouth?
Yeah.
Alexa?
Alexa, yes. To people of the Con and Bob podcast, Bob has a massive crush for Alexa Bliss, and he just recently found out her engagement with Buddy Murphy kind of broke off. So, Bob, shoot your shot, buddy. But yeah, Lacey Evans, right down there, defeats the jobber 1-2-3 with a women's right. Love the name of that finishing move, by the way. And yeah, I thought this was a great little segment. It didn't have to do much in terms of storyline wise. All it did was just make Lacey Evans more hated. And then, of course, Becky Lynch coming on down to the ring, and they have a little brawl. That was fun, Nothing wrong with that.
One thing about Lacey Evans that I noticed a while ago that is still somewhat irritating to me.
Okay.
I love her character. I love the women's right. I love all that. When she first finally got introduced as a character of like a wrestling capacity, and it was in this Becky Lynch, the very start of this Becky Lynch thing, the very first thing that she did was hit Becky with a women's right. But Becky took it like it was just a normal punch. Mm-hmm. And then she had to hit her again with it. Then from that point, they've had Becky get knocked down by it easily just with one. Now they're having her knock out nobodies, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. But it led me to believe, is the women's right her finisher, or is it more of a signature?
And we're going to see something.
And why did she hit Becky the very first time? And Becky literally dropped to one knee. She didn't even go all the way down from it. I was like, that seemed weird because that seemed like it was supposed to be almost like the Big Show, the WMD.
Yeah,
whatever it is.
Yeah, the WMD. Yeah, I get what you're saying with that, where the concern lies. I think that is part of the storyline, though, is that she is being introduced and she is learning quickly from her mistakes. Like, she's almost like a quick learner.
Mm-hmm.
She had to throw some shots onto Becky Lynch multiple times. Her first one that she delivered didn't quite connect all the way. And you start to see that she learns from her mistakes, She goes out there for a brawl one week, gets beat up. Well, then the next week, she's a little smarter about it. She walks down to the ring many times before all this started happening with Becky Lynch, and she walks back away. She seems like she's got one of those characteristics where she is just going to absorb everything like a sponge, and as a result, her character is going to develop more and more. But I understand what you're saying with the potentially of women's right being just a signature move. Maybe she goes to knock Becky Lynch out. She hits the women's right. Becky Lynch 1-2 kick out and realizes, oh, I need more than this. And then breaks out, maybe the moonsault that she has for a finishing move.
Which is an awesome moonsault.
Yeah. So
because it's almost isn't it almost like a BME?
What's the BME again? Why am I best moonsault ever?
The springboard into it.
Yep.
But hers is
middle rope. And is she all the way up to the top? She start middle, go to top, backflip. I'd have to rewatch it. Or is it off the middle rope?
She does something where she doesn't she start with her chest and her front facing the ring,
and then turns around and then backflip. That's totally it. That's it. Yep. So yeah, it's cool.
Which is awesome. That's a dope finisher.
It's very similar to Kevin Owens' moonsault that he breaks out from time to time as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where I thought initially when we were introduced to Lacey in the actual wrestling capacity, I was like, oh, okay, that's her finisher. The women's right is just a signature, but then they're having the women's right be stronger against even Becky Lynch, against this jobber and everything, where I'm like, okay, now I'm just a little confused. So I'm intrigued to see what she pulls out against Becky in the match. But yeah, I said to you for many months now, I've been ready for Lacey Evans to make her debut. I've loved her. I thought that out of all of the little vignettes that they showed when they were bringing up Lacey, EC3, Nikki, Lars, and Heavy Machinery, I thought that Lacey's was my favorite.
Yep.
The little promo package that they had for it.
Oh yeah, you can go back in the Con and Bob
here's
podcast.
The other thing.
And just
here's the other thing. Yeah. The other thing with her is I didn't watch her. I didn't even know. Like, I paid attention to NXT at the time, but she was never like a top tier woman in NXT in the aspect that she like had title matches. So I didn't really know who she was. And then all of a sudden she's getting introduced to the main roster. And I was like, oh shit, I like this character. I like the women's right thing, right? Like, I'm like, this is a dope character. I'm really excited. And then they kept her from wrestling for so long, and it was annoying. So now that she's finally getting in the ring, I am thrilled because I've been behind her the entire way.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you can go back in the Con and Bob podcast, and we spoke highly of her from day one. I'm pretty sure you can even find like an NXT live stream from a long time ago where Lacey Evans was on the show, and I said the same thing. Her character's got legs, you know, and I don't mean that in just like a superficial way or anything. She legitimately, her character has legs to go for a long time. She can run with a championship. She could be a mid-card act. She could be a promo girl. She could be a manager. She's going to be around in the WWE for a long, long time.
It's a fun character.
Very fun character. Let's quickly talk a bit about Bray Wyatt and that wacky segment that he released.
Yowie,
wowie, yowie! Like, oh man,
I love him.
He's so much fun. It's slowly becoming darker and darker. Like, obviously, the bunny died this week. Like,
and the little cut-in of the hurt heel.
Remember what we said last week? Like, who was the bunny going to be portrayed by on TV? Well, nobody anymore. Nope, nobody. Yeah, he's long dead. Chewed up by Mercy the Buzzard. And obviously that was to the applaud of, what is it, Penny the Witch? Is that the name? Or
I think so.
Whatever the witch's name is. I'll have to up my knowledge on that one. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed these segments. This is the third one. It's been gold the entire way. Continue to please make it darker and darker and darker and darker.
It's funny because it was darker in that capacity, but it was less creepy when he did his goodbye.
Yeah.
Which I didn't understand, but also it was creepier at the same time because there was children around.
He was so monotone. All you have to do.
Didn't say anything.
Just let me in.
And they just sat there like kudos to those kids, the actors.
Oh god, yeah.
Because those kids were just like,
just so dead stare. Like, there's just something that is so off with this that I love, you know, and I can't wait till it snaps.
I think that he lacked what he had last week in the aspect of the like pause, that nice pause. I think this week wasn't as long of a pause for me, so it was a little bit quicker. Mm-hmm. So I didn't feel that like where he's like, remember, all you have to do is let me in. And like that creepy, this week was a little bit quicker. So that delivery was a little bit off for me, but still the rest of the segment was great. And the kid inclusion was...
I laughed my ass off when I saw the kids just pop up on the screen for no reason. Like, they're just there and like, oh, okay, we got kids involved now.
And I don't know, I like the aspect that the like hurt heel thing, but I also don't want them to get too set into the cut-in type thing, which they used to do with him. Those like kind of weird cut random pictures popping up, things like that. I don't want them to fall into that because that's how it used to be, and this is a different character.
Exactly.
And
like the same thing flies with Sami Zayn when we were trying to ask how do you get it into a in-ring character. The Bray Wyatt's going to fall into the same sort of thing. How do we transition this into an in-ring character? How do you transition the segments moving forward? Is Mercy the Buzzard and the Witch going to be actual superstars like Nikki Cross and Eric Young? Or is it straight up going to be just something that is literally only a backstage segment that transitions into an in-ring role somehow? I don't know. I'm certainly intrigued to see moving forward. But yeah, you're right. We do have to maybe get away from those cuts because those also can't transition to the ring very well, right?
Yeah, and I'm intrigued to see what his I think this is the most intriguing, well, one of the most intriguing things is I'm really intrigued to see what his apparel is.
Yeah.
In the ring, right? Like,
I hope he wears exactly what he's wearing. That'd be so funny.
He could, right?
It
like that's
really
the thing.
funny.
Like I assume the gloves are going to be a part of it. But I'm intrigued to see what he wears because Baron Corbin wears his dress clothes, right? He just takes off his vest. And I'm intrigued to see if he's going to wear something similar or if it will be slightly varied, right? Or if it will be something completely different when he's actually in the ring. I hope it's something similar. Honestly, I hope it's something almost the exact same. Maybe take off the sweater vest and he just rolls up his sleeves and wears the khakis, right? Like something like that. Or like takes off his sweater vest and his dress shirt and he's just got like a basic t-shirt on it or something, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just intrigued to see what happens, but also they could brand the shit out of this as well. The Firefly Funhouse, they could so have shirts with that.
Did you see the first shirt that they released with it?
No.
Oh, I gotta find this for you. They can merch the hell out of it, but the first one was really funny. Firefly Funhouse, right? Yeah. It's quite funny. Here it is. So, for people who are listening on like Anchor or whatever, you're not going to see this, but look at this.
It's just
so bad. It's literally a cut and paste,
funny.
And it's perfect. Like honestly.
Oh god, that's so good.
And it comes in red, like this. Like
dude, can I see the red one? Is there a different?
Yeah. Let me just give me that.
Let me see the red one because I think that one would look great. Yeah,
there's the red one.
That's so funny.
They've got a mint colored one. They've got orange.
It looks like I took that picture and like copied it to a like screen press software, printed it out, and then just had plain colored shirts that I bought from Walmart.
Imagine Bray wrestles in that.
That's what I mean. Like, do something. That would be so funny.
Yep.
Yeah.
What if this character... Here's the thing. I got to ask you. What if this character doesn't fully dive into the complete insane side, and he does end up being more so just a creepy, but not fully insane, character? You know what I mean? If this doesn't dive fully in.
Like a bad Mr. Rogers.
Like a bad Mr. Rogers.
That's almost what he feels like. Like he's like Mr. Rogers, but weird as shit. I mean, I guess that's just Mr. Rogers, but no, I'm kidding. No, like a Mr. Rogers, but like dark, right? And it's like it's like an insane Mr. Rogers where you're like, okay, this is just a dark human being. I'm intrigued. I think he's continues to kill it. I think like if there's one bright spot that WWE week in week out right now is having, it's the Firefly Funhouse segments, and I am intrigued. I'm excited for them to get him back in the ring. I don't know when that's going to be, but it almost feels like a little bit of a Lacey Evans thing where it's like, okay, I want to see him in the ring now. Like, let's get him in the ring.
Yep.
But also, now because of how good Lacey Evans is feeling right now, I'm like, should they hold off? Should they just keep doing this? I think
we should get at least 2 more segments of Firefly Funhouse. It should take us to past Money in the Bank, I want to say, which is on the 19th. So like 2 more weeks of Firefly Funhouse, and then maybe like towards the end of May, Bray Wyatt makes his debut in the ring or something like that.
I would love it if they didn't even have him debut in the ring yet, like wrestling wise, but start it by like a Firefly Funhouse live in the ring.
Oh, see if that would work. Like that's
work.
That's the thing with WWE now. If you build this up right and you let them go out there and do the segment, fans are going to be invested in the segment as opposed to a one-off in-ring segment. Like if that's where this is going, I think it could be pure gold because Bray Wyatt's got the promo ability to pull it off live. Like he is that damn good on the microphone. So
yeah. And they don't obviously need whatever the witch, Penny the Witch, whatever her name is, or Mercy the Buzzard. They could have them pop up on the screen, and then he could talk to them like, Penny, like, oh, Mercy, like whatever, talk to them. And it could almost be like an interview segment where he invites like a friend, and all of a sudden, like, someone's coming out and doing an interview, and they're just like thrown by him, and he's talking to them about something, and it's just weird. It's a weird segment, but he could pull it off. I'm excited for what happens with this character, this form of Bray Wyatt, if you will.
Speaking of freaks, let's talk about Lars Sullivan, as he is one of the many people that benefited from the wildcard rule this week. I like Lars Sullivan having the ability to go either on Raw or SmackDown and just destroy who he wants. He fits the character build for that. Yeah, not too much to talk about there. I liked it, and I think it's going to set up a Lars Sullivan R-Truth match at Money in the Bank. Maybe a pre-show match where Lars just absolutely destroys R-Truth. They're booking Lars perfectly right now. I don't know what else to say on it.
Yeah. I think he's doing a good job. I'm intrigued to see if anything comes of this Matt Hardy R-Truth thing.
By the way, Matt Hardy, did you see his thing backstage, the backstage promo segment? What was Matt doing? What was that ready fight stance? It reminded me so much of Mr. Miz trying to square up. That's what Matt Hardy was like. Just whoa, just I'm ready to go. Like pulling his best Macho Man impression. Ooh, yeah. The main event though,
monster.
We've quickly talked about it. Kofi Kingston, Daniel Bryan. Great main event, WWE Championship match. Painted Kofi Kingston as a star. Another win over Bryan. Closes that loose end of Daniel Bryan's. Even though they don't have
Daniel Bryan to move on to the tag division.
Yep, it was the perfect send off for that feud. I was legitimately at times, I was bought in, and I think that's what's awesome about Kofi Kingston as WWE champion. I feel like the title could come off him at any given moment.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I'm worried at any moment. I'm like, oh, would they take it off him here? Would they do AJ? That's the other thing. The triple threat. I'm like, maybe they want to do Sami versus KO to have that, right? And just have that rivalry kick back off or that match because they know it'll be great. Maybe they want to do AJ versus Seth for both titles.
I thought that as well, yeah, because they already teased the unification of the titles, right?
Yeah,
they teased
double belt thing. Yeah,
yeah, and I mean it's not uncommon. Becky's got 2 belts, so I legit thought it could happen. And I think that's a testament to Kofi Kingston, though, in how good of a babyface he actually is. You know, every move we think could be the end of his title reign, and that's a good babyface.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the distraction by KO. I'm not huge on the distraction.
I think we're talking about 2 different matches. That was the distraction in the SmackDown match. Yeah. The Monday Night Raw match was good.
Both matches were great.
They were awesome.
Great. Yeah. I think the triple threat, I have it as my match of the week.
And triple threat's your match? Okay.
Yeah, though the DB him was just as good probably.
See, that's the one I have for match of the week, Daniel Bryan, Kofi Kingston.
I just chose the triple threat because I liked, from the story standpoint, Kevin Owens' involvement. I loved seeing AJ versus Kofi Kingston was awesome, that inclusion, and then also the Sami Zayn involvement of finally getting to see him in the ring, and they're all great wrestlers, right? Yes. So, and also the aspect that, 3 Blue Thunder Bombs?
3 Blue Thunder Bombs. I love that.
It just felt like Kofi, where he just gets hit and then the kick out, and then Sami's great at selling for a guy who spent his entire indies under a mask.
Yeah. His facial expressions are unreal. Yeah.
Same thing with Andrade. For someone who's spent most of their time under a mask, they're phenomenal facial expression wrestlers.
Yep. Makes sense why they want to take the mask off them for that reason, right? Yeah.
So I was really excited with that. Both matches were incredible. It got me behind Kofi Kingston again and really excited for him. And being like, oh, yeah, this is the champion that we wanted. This is the champion that we're here to support. And I think it was just, like I said last week, they just needed to have him defend it. Give us a reason, right? He won it. That was the climb. Now prove that you can stay there.
Yes, I absolutely agree. Quickly talking about the rest of the card, though, because we jumped right to the main event on SmackDown Live. I liked the Ali versus Andrade match, the way that got all set up, and then the way that it came to an end with Randy Orton. I thought that was a perfectly booked match that got me hyped for Money in the Bank. Did everything perfectly.
And 2 incredible performers.
Yeah. It was a very short match. Makes me want to see it more in the future. It did everything it needed to do, honestly. That was perfect.
And Randy's Randy.
Randy's Randy.
Great to interrupt on things like that.
And hitting both of them with an RKO, that's just...
In 2 different ways, too. That Ali RKO, man.
Oh, so good.
The toss-up into it, and then the catch Andrade with one.
Just the catch right after it is almost so impressive. Because just the fact that he hit that pop-up RKO, pops up off the ground, and then catches him. The timing on that was impeccable.
It just shows how good Randy Orton is still, right?
Yeah, and he's
and always has been.
What, Randy Orton's like, what, 37 still, I believe? Randy Orton.
I think he's up there. I think he's nearing 40.
39 years old. So yeah, we're talking, he's the same age of AJ Styles sort of thing, or around the same age. Like, he's not.
Yeah, like that John Cena, AJ Styles-esque type age.
Yeah.
And he's been doing it for.
That's the thing.
He has 20 years.
His entire, like, when we hear about, like, people being 10-year veterans just getting to WWE or whatever, you're like, okay, yeah, you had 10-year veteranship on the indie scene. Randy Orton's had 20 years in the WWE. Mm-hmm. Like, that's a testament to how damn good of a performer he is. Not, like, sure, maybe he got in on his name value, but he's the best Orton to have ever lived. Right? He's outdone the legacy of his father and grandfather. Big time. Yeah. So yeah, Orton is just absolutely, truly amazing. Let's speak a little bit about Daniel Bryan with the Tag Team Championships. I know we talked about it, but yeah, I love this move. That match was awesome. I love the start of it, though, where Shane McMahon teased the entire fans. Every fan at home was just like, are you kidding me? He's going to hand pick a tag team that wasn't even a tag team before today. Like, fans were just getting so mad at it. And, like, you could see, like, all the frustration building up in the fans. And then the Usos come out because of the wild card rule, and the fans are even losing their minds even more because, like, this is stupid. There's a SmackDown team competing against a Raw team for the SmackDown titles. Like, what's going on? But then the match happened, and we all shut up. It was a great match. Bryan and Rowan are going to do amazing stuff for the Tag Team Championships. Mm-hmm. I can't wait to see them rebrand the Tag Team Championships with the hemp belts, because he's already basically confirmed that during his WWE.com exclusive promo. Yeah, all of this is great stuff for the Tag Team division on SmackDown Live. Very happy this happened.
It's weird because, like, I love Usos, and I thought it was an amazing match, and it showed right there what I was saying earlier, the aspect of you don't need to have them do stupid things and be goofy and whatever. They're that good that they could just come out and be like, listen, we're better than you, like, and we'll prove it, and then go out in the match and do that. So they did an incredible job with that, and I loved the match. It's the right call but parts of it, I was like, maybe the Usos will win. Mm-hmm. Maybe they'll win and they'll be SmackDown superstars now. But I also thought that, like, Rowan and Daniel winning also made a lot of sense. Another thing that we mentioned last week, tag team, and it's why not use them as a team? Yeah, they're not your champions anymore. They're already a connection. Use them.
It's just booking 101, right? Like, you take a act that got a babyface over and a heel, like Daniel Bryan got Kofi Kingston over, and you take that same character who has now finished his current arc with Kofi Kingston, and you move him into another championship role where he can continue that exact same heat that he has with the fans, and in the process building a division from the ground up again, because they lost the New Day, they lost the Usos. They don't really have anybody else coming over. They got Heavy Machinery, who seems like it's going to be their first feud with, which, I'm okay with.
I'm fine with that. I didn't like the promo. I didn't like the little, like, pass by because it was just, like, awkward. It felt like something should have been said in that moment.
Which is why you got to watch the Daniel Bryan. When I've spoke about this thing a lot already. The Daniel Bryan WWE.com exclusive. It is a must-watch promo. It literally is. It fills in any little story holes, plot holes that you have with this current story. It was a great little 2-minute promo.
It is a must-watch promo. The Miz cutting a promo against Daniel Bryan on Talking Smack from, like, 2 years ago. Still one of the greatest promos I've ever seen.
Unreal. And we still
work shoot promos.
I still
loved it.
Dude, here's the thing. I still want to see a heel Daniel Bryan versus babyface Miz.
I'm so excited for it because they have it perfect to do, man. They have it perfect to do. And honestly, oh God, it's
make it
almost
at
a shame.
Dude, make it at SummerSlam. Let's let us see it live. Like, I want to see that thing.
Oh, I would love it. Yeah, I could also see them potentially just doing something like that at Survivor Series. They could have done it if Miz was in the Money in the Bank, have him win, and then Daniel end up winning the title again before some point in the next year.
I think
cross brands for it, but I don't know.
I truly believe that we are going to see that match at some point. It's going to happen at some point.
Has to happen.
Yep.
Has to happen.
And I love, here's
Miz
the thing.
is so beloved. Daniel is so hated. And it's so funny because a year ago at this time,
Flip-flop.
Daniel was so loved and Miz was so hated.
Yeah.
So it's just perfect.
It's literally one of those storylines that WWE stumbled into somehow through an injury and through the Talking Smack promos. It's just been told for so long that I am ready to see that match as a babyface Miz, heel Daniel Bryan. Because honestly, Miz has won, like we talked about how great of a heel he was for so long. You and me, we gushed over him. But he is truly showing,
for a reason.
He is truly showing that he is like one of the best performers, babyface or heel. He is great. Loving what the Miz is doing right now.
He's my favorite wrestler in the world today for a reason, and he's one of my favorites all time for a reason. He's the way that I've seen him develop, because I've seen it from his debut on. I cannot say enough about that guy. He does it a way like an old school wrestler. He's a character guy. He tells the story through his character work, right? Like, and his rivalry work. And there's not a single rivalry that he's had in the last handful of years that I've been back into wrestling that has been bad for me.
Yeah, no, he tells a good story every time, and he delivers in the ring.
Yeah, whenever he had those segments as a heel, I am going to make this the most prestigious title in WWE, or the most talked about. For me, it was.
Yep.
Always. It was always the best. I was like, the things that he does is just on a different level than almost any other superstar from a character standpoint, making his storyline so much more important, which is why he's always near the top of the card.
Yep.
Why he's always a higher mid card or top of the card guy, where it's like, and he doesn't even need the title. Hence this Shane McMahon bit.
Yeah.
It's a rivalry that should have been done after one match because it's Shane McMahon, but somehow Miz is carrying it through so well. Shane is doing an okay job.
He's doing as good a job as that Shane can do.
And they're adding other elements into it with Elias helping out the B team, whatever, things like that. But Miz is carrying this through as a face. I don't think there's anyone that could have carried this rivalry against Shane McMahon through better.
I don't think so either. This was the perfect coming out party for Miz as a babyface. They slowly transitioned him from that heel to a babyface that's beloved with the fans. Honestly, man, like I'm so happy to see Miz killing it as babyface, because he did not kill it when he was a babyface the last time, where he was like partnered with Ric Flair for a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But ever since he turned heel out of that, he has been nothing but phenomenal. He truly has. Yeah. He has been lights out ever since he made that turn back to being heel. You're right. He has not produced a bad story since then. Really hasn't. And also, I like the little bit of the detail here with the B team, former Miztourage, attacking the Miz again. They kind of went out on some rough ends. They didn't tie up all loose ends. And they went out with the Miz and them really being at each other's throat. So it makes total sense that the B team would be attacking the Miz now.
And the commentary team brought that up, like former Miztourage, which is...
Yeah, like I you know what? Like you're introducing the B team on SmackDown Live. You're looking to somewhat increase your tag team division. Why not dive into that story a little bit? Sure, it's weird because the B team went from being really over baby faces for a comedy act to all of a sudden being heels again. But that's a little plot hole. Other than that, nothing too wrong with it. I thought it was fine. Yeah. And then obviously we quickly talked about Kairi Sane and Asuka challenging Fire and Desire next week. I did not like the fact that Ember Moon picked up the loss during that match. I think it should have been Carmella receiving the pin. But
the tough thing with that, you had mentioned that, kind of came to mind with that too, was the aspect of like somebody has to take the pin. It sucks. But it's the aspect of Carmella just won the women's battle royal, which should mean something, right? And they haven't really talked about it, which is weird. And then like you said, it's just tough. Like maybe use someone else. Use a Nikki Cross.
Well,
no offense to Nikki, I don't want to see her take pins.
Here's the thing: if you wanted the fact that Ember Moon took the pinfall to create a potential storyline moving forward, they could have went a better way of having her take the pinfall. Yeah. The idea of delivering the suicide dive, Sonya Deville pushing Mandy Rose out of the way, Mandy Rose coming back, hitting that step-up knee, and then delivering the bed of roses inside the ring. Right?
Also love that finisher.
Great finisher. I would have preferred, and this is just nitpicking, but it would have made Ember Moon look so much stronger. I would have preferred Sonya to, so Mandy Rose be like the legal woman in the ring or something, Ember Moon go up to the top rope looking to hit the Eclipse, and Sonya pushes Mandy out of the way and takes the Eclipse for her. Down on the ground, Mandy hits her step-up knee inside the ring, sets up the bed of roses, 1, 2, 3 over. Because then what you did, you at least showed that the stuff that cost her the match happened inside the ring. Right? You don't have that moment where, oh, I'm knocked down on the outside of the ring. Oh, I got to be thrown back inside the ring. Oh, now I got to stand up. Oh, now I got to take this finishing move, and now I got to get pinned. All from a mistimed suicide dive.
So where was Carmella during any of this?
Exactly. Yeah, so there was a little bit of plot holes with how that finish went down, and I would have liked to see Ember Moon pick up a little bit more momentum out of that match. But you're right, somebody has to pick up the pinfall, and you don't really want to put somebody like, say, Lana in there because she doesn't do anything to bring up the value of Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville either when you're trying to build them up as a tag team in the women's tag team division, right? So I get it. I understand the purpose of this match. Just would have liked Ember Moon to be put over a tiny bit stronger is all.
Yeah. We kind of skipped over, by the way, from Raw, Baron Corbin, Bobby Lashley, Seth Rollins, AJ Styles. Good match. I thought,
the finish
Baron
was
picking up
fine,
the win Baron picking up the win on Seth could lead to a potential Baron Seth, which also makes sense. I'm okay with that as him being the in-between SummerSlam and Money in the Bank challenger, which I said I very well could have seen it happen at Money in the Bank.
Yep,
I'm okay with that because Baron losing against Seth is good for Seth. It's good for Baron. It doesn't hurt either of them. And I think he's at that point now where he can start having one-on-ones for the title.
Oh, dude, Baron Corbin actually is he's a really solid in-ring performer. People do not give him enough credit.
And people hate him. So having one of the most beloved characters in Seth going up against one of the most hated in Baron,
it's just easy.
I think that is one of those situations like we talked about last week. You pin the champion. You should get an opportunity.
Exactly.
You pinned him at some point.
Exactly.
So, and also it builds the storyline of AJ again looking like he might go heel. I don't know,
right? It's tough because he brought up the idea of bringing over his friends, right? Like, what was the words that he said exactly?
I think he said bring over some buddies.
He hinted at going and getting some of his friends before Rollins interrupted. So that's obviously hinting at Finn Balor and Gallows and Anderson. The club, right? Too sweet. Back to New Japan. Yeah. I think that is intriguing. The wildcard option allows that to be a thing on either Raw or SmackDown, which is kind of fun. Again, the wild card rule is maybe not the most well thought out thing. It's maybe not the most creative thing. It's maybe not the best thing overall. However, it is going to open up opportunities for people to switch brands, to jump into matches where they didn't have the opportunity to go for, and it's going to create some good TV, probably. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I thought that match was good.
Who's your performer of the week, my friend? Your MVP?
My homie, my champion, the man who climbed the mountain and is proving that he deserves to stay there, Kofi Kingston.
Oh, man.
He was great. It's funny how this happens because literally less than a week ago, you and I, in last week's episode, talking about it, how I was really stale on his title reign to this point. I was kind of thrown by it. I'm like, I don't know, should he be the champion? I legitimately was having those where it's like, should he be the champion? I haven't felt the same. The climb was great. The fact that he got it was great. I'm like, should he stay as a champion? Any of that? And I double question myself in the aspect of, well, maybe it's just that he needs to defend it. And he defended it to another level this week. And I'm glad that he is still your WWE WWE World Heavyweight Champion.
Oh, I loved when Xavier Woods just jumped in to do that for him, and Kofi kind of just wasn't expecting. He's like, "Oh, I'm still gonna say it with you, bud." it was
I
funny.
thought he was great. I loved every minute of it.
Yep, Kofi would be right there for me for one of my MVPs as well, but this week I'm gonna go Daniel Bryan because
great.
His match against Kofi, phenomenal. His match against the Usos, phenomenal. New tag team champion. I love Daniel Bryan. I love his heel character. Yeah.
Speaking of phenomenal, AJ Styles, good to see.
Very good. Very strong on the microphone as well.
It was a lot of decent.
It was. Like I said at the start of the show, I believe if SmackDown would have been not as good of a show as it was, I probably would have been a lot angrier over this week of wrestling. Monday Night Raw, SmackDown undid a lot of the things that Monday Night Raw made me upset at. Put it that way. But yeah, still not going to get over the Revival and their Oosie Hot and how they're being embarrassed and all. Yeah, that's just kind of a rough thing.
Stupid.
Yeah. But yeah, where can they find you on Twitter there, Bob?
Bob's Wrestling. BOBSRASSLIN. Bob's. There it is. Bob's Wrestling. BOBSRASSLIN. And
then you can follow me on Conman167, CONMAN167. Both those links are down in the description below, as is the link to the Anchor podcast. You can listen to this thing on everywhere. Google Podcasts.
On
everywhere, yeah, just everywhere that you can imagine. Maybe even your CD cassette has something, I don't know. But yeah, you can listen to this thing Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, everywhere. I believe that's going to do it for us, though, this week. Once again, man, I've been Con.
And I've been Bob.
And that was the Con and Bob Podcast.